Thanks, Tracy. I've really been looking forward to this session because it's one that reminds us just how far the Kate Opinion movement's travelled, not only in distance but in impact. So, welcome to 13 years of Kate Opinion Australia, the journey so far. For those of you who have not met me, I am Fraser Gilmore and I am the CEO here at Kate Opinion. One of the most powerful things about Kate Opinions is that it shows time and again that when people share their experiences and when services really listen and respond, change happens. It reminds us that improvement doesn't only come from policy or systems, but from stories, from the real experiences of people receiving and providing care. What's remarkable is how that simple human idea, creating a safe, independent space for stories to be heard, has taken root in so many different places and contexts. Care Opinion is now part of health and care systems across the UK, in Ireland, in Canada, and of course in Australia. Care Opinion Australia is such a powerful example of this vision in action. For more than 13 years, they've shown that the principles at the heart of Care Opinion, openness, kindness, learning, and change, are universal. They've shown that story-based feedback can thrive in different health systems, different cultures, and across vast geographies, because at its core, it's about people, listening to each other and working together to make care better. Their work has built a culture of listening right across health and care, empowering thousands of storytellers, strengthening partnerships, and supporting change that really matters to staff and the people they care for. It's a huge achievement and a testament to the strength, adaptability, and enduring relevance of the Care Opinion model. So today's session is a chance to reflect on that journey, the milestones, the challenges, the learning, and the impact. But it's also a moment to celebrate what it tells us about the power of story-based feedback, wherever in the world it's taking place. And before I hand over, I just wanted to say a special thank you to our Australian colleagues for joining us live today. It's late in the evening where they are, so we're especially grateful that they're here with us to share their story and their insights. As you listen, please do share your thoughts and reflections and questions in the chat, and we'll come back to these at the end for a Q&A and discussion. So it's my absolute pleasure now to hand you over to Sarah Higgins, Project and Administration Officer, and Ellen McGovern-Greco, Moderation and Reporting Officer from Care Opinion Australia, who'll take us through their journey so far. Sarah and Ellen, over to you.
Thank
G'day,
you,
everyone.
Fraser.
Thank you, Fraser.
Introduction, and good day from Australia. My name is Ellen, and as Fraser said, I'm the Moderation and Reporting Officer.
Sorry, and my name is Sarah. G'day, everyone, and I'm the Administration and Project Officer here at Care Opinion, and it is an absolute pleasure to be joining you today or tonight for us.
We thought we'd bring a bit of the outback to the UK today, flies and all. And look, we know these huts are a bit cliche, but it seemed fitting given that we are here to talk to you today about how Care Opinion works in Australia, especially when we zoom out and look at the bigger picture of how these nuances sort of coalesce to create an abundance of culture and narrative patient feedback. So if there are any other Aussies with us here today, we'd love if you could drop a good day in the chat, and hats off, let's dive in.
Thank you, Ellen. So what I'm going to start us off today with is an acknowledgement of country. And for those who are not familiar with this practice, which will most likely be many of you, I'm glad to have the opportunity here to say a few words. So the purpose of an acknowledgement of country is to take a moment to pause, to reflect, and to recognise the traditional owners, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who for many years were excluded from Australian history and decision-making, and this recognition contributes to ending the cycle. This is done differently to a welcome to country, which would be performed by a traditional owner. So I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which Ellen and I are presenting from today, the Turrbal and Yagara peoples who lived on and cared for the land north, south and west of Brisbane River, known as traditionally as Meanjin. And I would like to extend my respects to elders past, present, emerging, And I further extend this to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander peoples who are joining us today. Stories and storytelling have been used for thousands of years by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples to preserve history, to teach, and to share. And I'm thankful that we have the opportunity to share our stories here with you today. And I'd also like to take a moment to thank our traditional custodians for the care that they have imparted and continue to impart on our country and its people. So that is our first piece of Australian context, bar the core cats. Over to you, Ellen.
Thanks, Sarah. So when we look at care opinion, every country has something really unique about them, and Australia really is no different. We've had some, quintessentially Aussie moments captured on the platform, such as 3 stories where someone says Macca's, 16 stories that use the word bloke, 13 stories about snake bites, 9 stories where someone has severed some part of themselves with an axe or a chainsaw, and 193 Indigenous stories.
So some more Aussie moments. We've got some brief examples here of some care opinion stories. So how many of you have heard that our wildlife is dangerous? Because it is true. We have shark attacks, kangaroo attacks, and maybe the worst for some people, snake bites. And to add a little bit of context, what I understand to be the second most toxic snake in the world, which is the eastern brown, enjoys frequenting my parents' backyard just down the road from me, as well as the common carpet python, less dangerous. None of us have been bitten yet, but here's a picture of an eastern brown taken from our suburb somewhere nearby. Brilliant photo, not from our place though. Our photo's considerably more blurry as we run away from the snake. Over to you, Ellen, thank you.
Alrighty, so when we're looking at what we will cover today, we want to be looking more specifically into what we do differently at Care Opinion Down Under. So we're going to start by looking at how we deal with identifiability, then how we moderate Australian lingo, the way we tag stories even, and we have been feeling a little bit used lately, to tell you the truth, but it's actually a good thing, and we'll go into that in more detail towards the end. All right, so dealing with identifiability, how rural are we really talking? So to put it into perspective, there's around 280 people per square kilometre in the UK and about 70 people per square kilometre in Scotland, with the most remote village about 105 kilometres from the nearest city. It's just inaccessible by road. Whereas in Australia, there's only 3.4 people per square kilometre, and our most remote town is 700 kilometres from the nearest city, and it's called Kirakara. It's roughly the same as if you were to drive from London to Edinburgh without passing another city or a town, and Kirakara is roughly about there.
So dealing with identifiability in these rural areas. So dealing with identifiability across all stories on Care Opinion is important, but we do have to take particular care when it comes to rural and regional areas. As it says here on the slide, everyone knows everyone, particularly in some of these small and rural regions, and where there's a small number of staff working in the health service. So some places, like that tiny little township Ellen's just mentioned, they may only have a nursing post with a single nurse stationed there for periods of time. So this is something that we've come across multiple times. So we've built processes around it to ensure the safety of both the storyteller and the staff. So how do we do it? So a few years ago, as an example, we received this story. Its challenges were, it was a highly critical story at criticality 5, which is the most serious there is on the platform. The area was small. It was a rural hospital in Victoria. Only 4 doctors were working at the hospital, so they would likely be identifiable, and there's a chance the author could even be identifiable, given that they were at a particular stage in their pregnancy. To add a little bit of further context, at this point in time, the small rural health services in Victoria were relatively new partners with Care Opinion, and they were going through constant rounds of COVID lockdowns. So it was of utmost importance to us to make sure that we kept everyone safe and feeling comfortable. So what was the solution? It involved assigning the story to the parent group on the platform, which you can see over here at the top of the story, the Small Rural Health Services in Victoria. It was set up to be the parent of all the small rural health services currently partnered with Care Opinion. During moderation, sorry, I'll skip ahead to the next point now. During moderation, we removed specific job titles, for example, changing doctor to clinician, and we would also use this for other professions when needed. So maybe nurse would become clinician as well, just to keep them a little bit less known. We then also published the response for the service so that the response wouldn't be linked to their service. So you can see up here it says from Care Opinion Australia, where it would normally say either the health service name, the responder's name, something like that. Although I will say in this particular case, the chief executive actually was happy for us to paste their name and position and put that still out publicly at the base of their response, but we did hide the name of the service. This meant that the storytellers still had their story heard and it was still shared publicly. The individual staff was safe from potential identification and safe within their community. And the service could still provide a response. So it was a good outcome in terms of sharing feedback, especially after a very serious experience. So other negative stories, what else do we do? So more recently, we've updated our approach to these stories to hopefully better the experience for both the storyteller, but also to make sure that critical information is being passed on to the service. You can see our 2 redacted email examples here. First one, email sent to the hospital. We now pass the identifying information about the staff member onto the service only, so that if there is any extra support or training that could benefit this staff member, they have the opportunity to follow up with them and it's not getting lost. We then also email the author to let them know that we have contacted the service directly so they can be assured that their full experience has been passed on. When staff are mentioned positively, really gives us a boost. We love to see it, so much so that we created the CO Hero tag, CO standing for Care Opinion. So this is to ensure that we can track these stories and services can too. So when a staff member is mentioned by name, we leave the first name in the story where possible, where we're sure it's the first name, and we tag it with CO Hero. So that means if the service wishes to, they can print off a CO Hero certificate for the staff member and anyone can search for this tag. We've made it public. And it's a great way of, as well, services, they could run a report on this tag and look at all of the wonderful ways that their staff are being mentioned. So after this presentation, feel free to go ahead and search the Care Opinion Australia website, maybe after the conference, let's not overtake anyone else's presentation, and search for CO Hero and take a look at some of these 4,000 plus stories. Over to you, Ellen.
Thanks, Sarah. Now we're going to be looking at dealing with identifiability with authors. So we always want to make sure everyone is safe on Care Opinion. However, there are times when no matter how we moderate a story, it will be identifiable due to its nature. For example, with the kangaroo attack story, this was discussed at length in the team due to its identifiability challenges, as the author would be instantly recognizable by the service. So that's why we distinguish a bit between de-identification and complete anonymity. So another distinction we make when talking to consumers about identification is that while we do our best to ensure they are not identifiable to the service, sometimes, as I said, this is unavoidable. Instead, we tell our authors that we can publish elements of their story that may make them identifiable to the service. However, we will remove elements that identifies them in the public domain, such as their address or family or their name. We always ensure we handle the risk of public identification very carefully. We believe that sometimes it is better for an author to be heard, even if this means they may be identified by the service, provided they understand the risk. So for example, in that kangaroo attack story, in that case, it was better for them to be heard rather than for us to not accept their story publication just because there is a chance that they will be identified. And we also do encourage services to identify patients in their responses if they know who the author is. This is something we didn't always do, but we've recently changed our position because we think it makes the responses come across as more genuine and make the author feel like their feedback has been properly heard. especially such as in this response on the screen here, where the author had spoken to staff, that day and had actually talked to them and then gone and told a story on Care Opinion. So if they were to pretend they hadn't known who that author was when they, responded to their story, it would have come across as, either the person they spoke to isn't the one who's responding, or it's just a bit disingenuous. So we always favor that authenticity.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a really good point you made at the end there. Thank you. So when moderating, we're mindful to keep the story in the author's words and with the intended tone as much as possible. So the stories I've got here up on the screen is actually an unmoderated and a moderated version. I meant to pop that on the slide, so apologies for that. So aside from steps taken to anonymize the author if needed, spelling and grammar aren't corrected generally unless we feel the service isn't going to be able to understand the story without those minor changes. But language is nuanced and the written word can be very different from the spoken word. We also have to take into account that feedback should be constructive. And in Australia, it is not uncommon to encounter sarcasm, sometimes truly as a joke, oftentimes as a way of expressing frustration, and sometimes you genuinely cannot tell. And sometimes we can't tell, and we have to sit down and discuss it. So this story, Unmoderated and Moderated, is a good example. This author was using sarcasm to get their message across. But was it constructive and was it sure to be read in the intended tone? So moderation in this instance was used to keep the voice and power of the story, so they're still getting across that they were unhappy with their meals post-coronary procedure, and I think it still is evident why. But it also ensures that the service can provide a response to constructive feedback, and they're not trying to read between the lines of all of that sarcasm as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Sarah. I completely agree. We've had a few of those moments before, certainly. So now we're going to be looking at our tagging system because we do things a little bit differently to how they do it in the UK. So basically, when we have tags on Care Opinion, they have two main jobs. So we use them to find and locate stories, and we also use them for reporting for the services. So we actually call this the anatomy of tags, and it serves both purposes. So to make this work, we first have our base tags. So these we leave neutral in the story. We don't polarize them. And we also call them our finder tags because their job is to help us locate stories, but they don't show up in reports because they're neutral. So for example, in this image I have here, you'll see that it's staff conduct. So any tag, any story that sort of talks about how staff behave, we will be able to locate with this tag. And then the second type of tag we have is our reporting tags. So these are a bit more specific and they always have a hyphen in them. They tell us what exactly about that topic is mentioned. So in this case, and this is a screen clipping from a report from a service, and it sort of tells us in detail, what was it about the staff conduct that was good or bad? Was it, that they were rude or that they were caring? So in short, these two anatomy of tags, essentially, the finder tags help us search and the reporting tags help us understand what's being said in more detail. But to show you what it looks like in practice, I have a story here. So you can see all our neutral tags down the bottom and all of our polarized tags on the side. So each neutral tag has a correlating polarized tag. So we have appointment and, what was actually wrong with the appointment? Well, it was a confirmation or it was, the appointment time. And we also have the same for cost and waiting. And so only these tags will show up in the reports, but these tags help us locate these stories. So now we're going to move a bit on to how we've been feeling used, but it is a good thing, as I mentioned earlier. So when we talk about Care Opinion being used, what do we actually mean? And so, Care Opinion has some obvious uses, such as, being a feedback platform, being used for transparency and enabling conversations between the CEO and the consumer. But what are some other ways that we've been used? Well, one such way is by staff, and this screenshot is from a story that I actually took over the phone, and the author said, that they'd offered the staff to give them some flowers for their excellent care, but the staff actually said instead, could you post on Care Opinion? What I didn't include in this story, just because I wanted to protect the staff, is that the author said the reason the staff gave for wanting their story on Care Opinion is because their managers read it. So I sort of liked how their managers reading a story about them on Care Opinion trumped flowers, which I thought was quite impressive.
Thank you. So Care Opinion can also be used as an evaluation tool, and this is one of my favourite examples to share. We actually had the staff from the Community Management Centre that I'm going to talk about on one of our conferences a couple of years ago. You can find those videos on our YouTube. They were wonderful. So one of my favourite examples, Prince of Wales Hospital in New South Wales, they used Care Opinion to show the value of their community management centre during COVID, or it was kind of just after COVID had begun. So the program provided in-home support to vulnerable people who had been diagnosed with COVID. In doing what they did, they collected a mass of story data to show the effectiveness of the program, and it ensured the continued funding of the program as well. So they did this through the combined use of Care Opinion stickers on the equipment that was given to the patients at home. So they're going and dropping these things off like an oximeter here in the picture. And they stuck a Care Opinion sticker on there, which had a little QR code invitation link that went straight to their service. So that was used really effectively, and just as effectively, the phone line. So many of these people being vulnerable and they're not needing hospitalization for their care, but can be managed in home. A lot of them are older people, and they were really happy to have a phone line and to be able to call up. And one of my favorite things about this was that the staff member working in the CMC actually called up before referring anyone over to make sure that the line was manned and answered. And I just thought, that's great. Wonderful commitment to their patients. And after doing all of that, the staff got to see the benefits too. A large portion of stories mentioned staff by name because there was so much continuity of care between, it was often going on for a week or two between one person and maybe 2 or 3 staff members, and they were phoning them daily, checking in on them. It was just incredible, really great use of the platform, and it boosted the staff morale during these really challenging times. So I thought that was just incredible. Back to you, Ellen. Thanks for letting me do that one.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was, yeah, we got so many stories for that CMC project. It was very, very interesting. But then moving on into another way that we've been used is actually by consumers and authors themselves. So we actually received this web query not long ago at all, only a few days. And it was from someone who extended their thanks to Care Opinion for helping them read about other people's hospital experiences, as they themselves frequently visit hospitals. So it was very meaningful for them to see how other people had experienced care or recovered from surgery. And I have to admit, you know, I've also partaken in doing this myself, as I have told friends and colleagues and, you know, lots of people to go onto Care Opinion if they're worried about a surgery, you know, to read about what other people have experienced essentially with that surgery, and see if it can ease their fears or, you know, help them get almost a head start in recovery. So I felt that was very interesting, and I asked this author if I could mention them in the conference, and they said yes. So thank you for them as well for allowing us to do that. So a final way we're going to be really looking at how we've been used is actually from responders sticking up for staff. And so this story is from 2022, during the height of COVID impacts here in Australia. The author in the story had actually complained about noise coming from the nurses' station in the ED. The response we got from the CEO was actually very empathetic, explaining that the noise was temporary because the team was working in a different space while the emergency department was being renovated. So it wasn't actually designed for an emergency department. But the author replied again to the story and said that the conversations didn't sound work-related. They used the term party atmosphere. So the CEO responded again And this is a response we've actually long admired and turned to, where, Jan's actually defended her staff, explaining how they've been working through the pandemic and that she actively encouraged them to reconnect and look after their well-being. They were working double shifts. They, were really extending themselves for the care and the safety of patients. And so to have those moments at the nursing station where they could reconnect, maybe they could share a joke as well, was really important and something that Jan, as the CEO, actively encouraged. We actually also found out later that a lot of the staff read Jan's response and emailed her thank you, because it really did boost their morale as well. So that's another way we've been used. But now we want to bring it all together. What does this really all mean? Well, we can see that our stories are uniquely Australian. We do face challenges dealing with the sheer remoteness of our continent and the identifiability problems this brings. We also have sarcasm, as Sarah mentioned, that is an ever-present moderation hurdle. And our tagging system also differs. Even in the way that we're being used by our staff and consumers. But yeah, what does this all mean? What does this all lead to and make care opinion in our eyes? Well, care opinion to us is a letter in a bottle. It is a cultural record, and they are historical primary accounts of healthcare in Australia. Because they're told by the consumer, they carry with them a sense of historicity. Now, what do I mean by this? I mean that they don't just recount isolated events of care, but they actively carry with them the weight of lived experience, how people's histories, bodies, contexts, their lives, their past, their futures, all shape both what happened in the hospital setting, but also how it is remembered, and more importantly, also how they tell their story. So while the active patient feedback transverses time and culture, the stories themselves are very much embedded in them, just like a letter in a bottle.
So, what could stories mean 200 years from now? Imagine the insight that the stories on Care Opinion will bring future generations about culture, economy, healthcare, language, so much more. Imagine if we had a Care Opinion during other notable times in history. What would those stories have looked like? This is just one of the powers of Care Opinion and the Care Opinion platform. The people who share their stories. They have control over what this historic record sounds and looks like. So what is your story? And where to from here? While we have well-established partnerships in Western Australia, New South Wales and Victoria, we would love to see Care Opinion extend across more states and territories to ensure that we can amplify the voices of all Australians. We know that the more stories are shared, the greater the collective voice of Australians across the entire nation. With 19,700 stories and counting, we're truly on our way there. And our next stop along the track is to welcome Fraser over in November, which is just a little under a month away now. And maybe one of our next steps starts with you. Be sure to reach out and connect with us. Personally, you can find us both on LinkedIn through these QR codes, and you can also reach out to our team at the partnering@careopinion.org.au email address here. And now we're so excited to welcome some more questions. So back to you, Fraser. And I can see there is so many questions coming through in the chat. So thank you very much.
There are. You can look at all the claps that you're getting there and all the hearts that you're getting there. Thank you so much for your presentation. So we're now going to move on to a little Q&A that we've got just under 15 minutes for. So just some reflections from me. It was really interesting to hear you talk about the rurality, because we talk about that in Scotland all the time, but across the UK. But to hear rurality in a very different context, when it's really very, very, very rural, and the kind of impacts in terms of identifiability, it is really interesting to see that. Hearing you talk about the power of stories and culture change and the power of positive feedback. Language and moderation was hilarious. I know we've talked together about how obviously my background was starting off working in Scotland, which we call that the banter, and in Northern Ireland, which they call it the crack. Sometimes when moderating stories, it's completely true. You do really recognize that the written word is so different from speaking. And we really want to be able to have people heard. That example you shared though was so funny. The heavy sarcasm that was in it, and how it could have been read, which was fabulous to see. And all the information you were sharing there about tagging, the feeling used and being proud of it, I loved that. And it was really interesting to hear you talk about the stories being uniquely Australian, but actually it really it shows you the ubiquity of feedback. Hearing you talk, there's so many similarities that people talk about in terms of their experiences of hospital and communication. So that was really fabulous to hear. So we can jump into our questions. We have had quite a few coming in. So apologies if I don't get round to your questions, but please contact us, and I can always pass it on to our team in Australia, and they can get back to you. The easiest one is from Melanie at MPFT. Where in Australia are you?
Sarah, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So our office is based in Brisbane in Queensland. So sunny state, very hot today, 38 degrees out where I am. And our team's kind of based all around the Brisbane suburbia, but our office is based in Bowen Hills, so close to the city, very close to the city. Yeah. Thank you.
So that was the nice easy one.
Yeah.
Our James, our head of R&D, has said it's encouraging that Indigenous people have been able to share their stories on Care Opinion, but it's quite small in number. What do you think the main obstacles might be for Indigenous people sharing experiences of care?
I think we can both do this. I might jump in first, though,
Go for
Sarah,
it,
and
go for
pass
it.
to you. But we actually had a meeting with a CEO in our Northern Territory Health Service that said receiving feedback from Indigenous people is a system-wide challenge. He said that Indigenous people actually leave feedback with their feet. And what he means by that is that they won't stop and give a survey. They'll actually just walk out. So it's actually a challenge that we're trying to mitigate. I think the country's also, trying to do better in. I know that because we offer phone stories, we have spoken to a few Indigenous people over the phone. So I think the fact that we're so available for that makes a big difference. But I'll pass over to Sarah because I know she has some excellent insights on this as well.
No, absolutely. I agree with what you've said there. And I think absolutely the phone stories are a big one. I would say that taking stories over the phone is probably one of our primary ways that we receive feedback from Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Some of it would potentially even be due to where our services are most common. So Western Australia, we have all of Western Australian public health services are using Care Opinion. There is a large population of Aboriginal people in Western Australia. But then if we wanted to receive more feedback from Torres Strait Islander peoples, that's more North Queensland, where we don't really have as big of a, I guess, presence. The other thing, I was going to say something else, and I think it's gone from my brain. Just the history of it all. The history of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and healthcare. There's some really, really bad history there, and there's a lot of fear. And I do think potentially, I'm speaking as a non-Indigenous person here, but from my understanding is that there can be a lot of fear about giving feedback and the implications that it would have for them. So even as an anonymous platform, I think giving any feedback is potentially they're going to be facing some barriers. So, but absolutely what Ellen said about speaking with the feet, so true. So I think hopefully that addresses that question. It's not just an us issue, it is more system wide. Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. One thing that a lot of people were very interested, as you were saying in it, was the Care Opinion Hero certificates. And Jessica from Royal Devon says, "Can we get Care Opinion Hero certificates to give out in our trusts?" And Jessica, I would definitely say if you link in with the support team at Care Opinion, there's some brilliant examples of that happening across the UK. But Sarah and Ellen, would you be happy sharing the certificates that you do?
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, very
absolutely.
happy to do that. And the thing is, it's just, you can make it as personalized as you want. We set up one that our subscribers and our partners are really happy to use. But I think personalizing it is a beautiful thing. And if that's the Jessica that I saw said that she was from Barnstaple, I have relatives in Barnstaple and I went to visit them a few years ago. So I was very excited to see that. So I was like, oh, now I want to go back over there.
Um, so I've got a few a few questions from me, and because we're going to be hearing from James in our session later on, I just wondered, have we seen much research in Australia on the Care Opinion model in Australia?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, we recently, it was actually Beck, our manager, who found it. But there was this South Australian university that was actually using Care Opinion. Now, we didn't know this until it was actually published, but they were using Care Opinion stories to test their natural language processor, so their NLP. And to see how well it works. So that was just an interesting use of Care Opinion, and it is definitely raising in popularity. It's getting more spoken in the academic circle. I'm currently writing my honours on Care Opinion, so there's hopefully going to be more research in this space. But yeah, there is use, not as much as the UK, but there definitely is some.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And Becky Mitchell is actually asking a question here, which I was going to ask too. And she asks, how did Care Opinion start? And how did you get so many stories? Was it easy, a real challenge? And that I was very much gonna ask about the early days of Care Opinion and what that looked like in Australia. So
Yeah, absolutely. So I reckon we can probably both take a bit of this on as well. So I've been with Care Opinion for almost 5 years, and same with Ellen. I think we started 6 months apart, so we weren't there at the very, very beginning. But my understanding is that conversations happened in between our former CEO Michael Greco and the Care Opinion UK team, and he took on the challenge to start it up over here. And we've been really lucky to have such wonderful support from the UK team as well throughout our journey. And there has been struggles. The Australian, it's a tough market to crack. It's a tough cookie to crack when it comes to the anonymity side of things. I think that's a really common issue, I'd imagine, across all areas. But I think once the beautiful thing is once you've got the stories, once you've got the data and you start seeing it, I think it's almost addictive. And I think people get very excited about it very quickly once they see what it can bring to them and what it can be. So I would say it was probably a slower start, but I think when you're there and you've got people who understand it, it just works so well. So I don't know if you have anything to add, Ellen, but
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with everything you've said there. I love that addictiveness. Yeah, so I've been 4.5 years. But actually I've got a bit of a family connection as well because my father, Michael Greco, is yeah, he's my dad, and so he actually brought Care Opinion to the UK. And so even though I've only started working, I actually I just joined to help out the team, and I very quickly fell in love with Care Opinion, and I've stuck around. I think it's brilliant, but very much in the background of those early days. And I remember him telling me that they used to get, one or two stories a week. If they got one a week, it was amazing. And so it's, now we get, at least sort of 15 a day, which I know is nothing compared to the UK, but it's very much been slow and steady. I think the best uptake we've had is when the Western Australian government took us on and really promoted us from the top. So I think that's something that's really important. You need both that top-down approach, but also that bottom-up acceptance, really, of the platform. But it's been 13 years of joy, and we've come a long way, and that's the main thing.
Wonderful. And we've just got a couple of minutes left. And I really liked at the end there the message in a bottle and looking back from the future of the importance of these stories, but looking to the future, what's next for Kid Opinion Australia?
Oh, do you want to
Yeah.
start with Sarah?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're extremely excited to be hosting you in November. Very, very, very excited about that. I
As
know
am
we're,
I.
yeah, I think that's going to be absolutely wonderful. The wonderful thing about our team is where we love the go, 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 the non-stop. So we're always looking for new places, new people to engage with. Most recently, we have been engaging with some MPs in Queensland. So we actually held a forum at the Queensland Parliament and we invited along. Basically, we sent invitations to all of the state and federal MPs for Queensland. And that was a really wonderful event. And I think it showed some great promise in building our relationships and connections there. And the aim is, the more that we engage our communities and people who are working with our communities, and the more that we engage high level, high level, oh my goodness, the words have gone from my brain, but, executives and boards and things like that within the health service and build a really strong understanding and foundation of what care opinion is and what stories do. The more that we can marry those two things together, exactly like Ellen said, it's that top-down, bottom-up approach. So that our future in this next little while, watch this space, because I think the more that we're engaging with all of these members of parliament and engaging with our community, it's going to be quite good, I think. So
Yeah,
and I
I
know, Fraser,
completely.
you've got a full plate. When you get here, you'll be meeting with lots and lots of people. So I'm sure there'll be lots of wonderful conversations had and many things to look forward to following that as well.
Yeah, I completely agree, Sarah. And I also think I'll just add one quick thing because I know we're short on time, but I'd love to see, and I think the direction we're going and what our subscribers have been feeding back to us is sort of positioning care opinion in this really epistemic, this epistemological space of, garnering new knowledge that they hadn't seen from quantitative measures. So, once I know the one after this is, the research chats with, Gillespie and James Monroe. And I think that's really important to sort of frame care opinion as not just patient-centered, but also epistemic authority. So I think we're heading in that direction, and services are certainly telling us that, which is exciting.
Brilliant. I think that's an awesome place for us to leave it. I am very excited about coming to visit the team in Australia and see the fabulous work that you're going to be that you're currently doing, that you're looking to do in the future. So it just leaves me to say, Ellen and Sarah, thank you so much for coming along today to share the journey of Care Opinion Australia, and I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you
Um,
very much.